You want me to talk about their season? You want me to talk about the game?
Both. What did you make of their performance against Utah? Just what do you think about their team overall?
So, what I think is that I think any given Saturday in the Big 12 is a challenge. Any given Saturday in college football. If you're watching the games this weekend, and I was able to watch a little bit of it on Saturday, just every week, every team, I think every team in this conference is really good, and every time you line up, you got to be ready to play. And so I think that part of it is it doesn't matter where you play, it doesn't matter who the teams are, it doesn't matter if it's the first place team or last place team or anybody in between. Every game in this conference is a frickin' battle. And we've lived that already. We know what that is. And then when I look at Colorado, I think they are a team that is incredibly tough at home. We know going into this that we're going to have to play in an incredible atmosphere. It's homecoming. It's sold out. It's going to be an evening game, all that stuff. And so it's going to be a really challenging atmosphere, crowd noise, elevation, all that good stuff, right? And so that's what we're working on preparing for.
Troy and then Michael.
In terms of defensively, looking at the defense the last couple of weeks.
You're feeling yourself with the Broncos today. I see you rocking the Broncos jersey.
Anyway, but looking at the defense the last couple of weeks with the rush defense in particular, what have you noticed during the bye week that can go into maybe solving those rushing issues?
Well, a big part of the bye week that I probably should have mentioned is that there was for us as a coaching staff and as a team, a big, kind of return to fundamentals. And so blocking, tackling, a lot of work in those spaces because we felt like there were a lot of opportunities missed, especially, in the Houston game in terms of tackling and getting people to the football. So living the red line, getting guys, population to the football, and then finishing when we get there.
Michael and then David.
I know you preach the nameless, faceless opponent kind of concept, but I wonder if your messaging to the team changed at all in light of how poorly Colorado played on Saturday and how that might motivate them heading into this week.
It didn't change my messaging because every game in this league is an absolute dogfight. And I've been saying that for weeks. You know what I mean? When I look at that, I look at, they lost to 2 top 10 teams at home. Right? Both those teams are in the top 10 now, Georgia Tech and BYU. Otherwise they've gotten after everybody at home, including a very good Iowa State team. So it doesn't matter what happened this weekend. What matters is what happens next weekend. And that's all we're worried about.
David and then Damian.
Brent, when you talk about that community involvement piece, and obviously you didn't necessarily go to school here, but you were at UCLA and you coached here, under Dick Tomey. How is that different now than it was maybe back in the late 90s? Are players more involved in that, in the process of being out in the community at some of these events now, maybe more so than maybe when you were in school?
I think they definitely are. I think this generation that we're coaching right now has a much better awareness or a much better affinity for doing work in the community. They seem to be more willing to do it, and they enjoy it. They find that when they do, they actually enjoy it. And so, and then it's also, I think it also depends on the program that you're a part of. And for us, with our program here at U of A, with Beyond Football, community outreach, community service is a core component of who we are as a program. And so that part of it, and the players have been great, and the players love it. And then you also see so many of your players, in the NIL, in the revenue share world, where they have their own foundations and they're doing, like Noah Fafita or Genesis Smith that have like put together these really unique, really cool foundations that are serving certain parts of the community that they feel passionate about, and then the teammates are joining in. So I think it's much better now than it's ever been. It's something that's important to me. It's important to our program, and I love the fact that our players lean into it. And I hope that the city and the community appreciates it, because it's not like that everywhere.
Damian and then Justin.
So when you talk about the difference between this past bye week,
Say it again, sorry.
you talk about the difference between this past bye week and the previous past bye week, and it sounded as if this one had a little bit more emotion to it. Why do you feel that would be? And I mean, is that truly the difference maker between the way the players are handling this week and the last one?
Difference maker between, say that again, part of it?
The players who said were angry, or they brought a different type of head.
Yeah, they're pissed off about Houston, man. They're upset about it not finishing against BYU. You know what I mean? So, like to me, the fact that they're more passionate or they're angrier or attacking the opportunity to improve, I'm all for it. Let's go. let's go, man. It's awesome.
Justin and then Troy.
Deion Sanders dealing with just health issues this year. What do you think of just the battle and everything that he's kind of had to go through in the last year?
Well, it's interesting because Coach Sanders he's obviously such a private person. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like that from when like you see the coach prime, but in terms of like no one knew that he'd been going through this for 8 months or whatever it is. So like I have an incredible amount of respect for him and the fact that he's battled through all that. My experience with Coach Sanders, he's a really good guy. He's like fun to talk to. He's got something to say. And being around him in the head coaches meetings, he's really got good insight on a lot of stuff that's going on in college football. And so I really appreciate him. And so I have a tremendous amount of respect for how he's battled through what he's been going through. And I'll tell you a funny story. I tried to call him, and I had an old number, I think. And so I called him, left a message, and then I sent a text. I said, hey, this is Coach Brent in Arizona. Hey, blah, 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 sorry. Just want to let you know I'm thinking about you, just whatever. Impress you're like fighting through this and that you're feeling better and all. I'm glad you're feeling better, whatever. And so some random person responded like, can you please tell whoever this is that I am not whoever you think I am? So whoever it was that has his old number, doesn't know that number belonged to Deion Sanders, And so can you imagine just how many random messages he's getting? So it's kind of funny.
Troy and then Michael.
Another part of the bye week was the coaching staff and yourself getting out across the country recruiting. Just your overall takeaways from that and just getting to talk to these recruits, committed, not committed, and their vibe with the program.
I'll tell you this, there are a lot of good football players in the state of Arizona. I'll tell you that. I finally got to go out and watch some games and watch a game, and it's just really, really impressive to be there in person. How important football is in the state of Arizona. It's really, really cool. Really, really enjoyed being out. It's harder for the head coach now. The rules are so different than they used to be, right? That we've recently, a year ago, made December a quiet period. Now it's a dead period. That was always a really active recruiting time for us, right? Being on the road as an assistant coach, as a head coach. My wife hates the new rules because she's like, why are you here? She's trying to get rid of me. You know what I mean? I used to be gone 30 days in the month of May. Like every single day, I wouldn't even come home because at that time we were recruiting by position and we were recruiting, I was recruiting receivers all over the country. So I was like, Florida, California, Midwest, like everywhere. Texas, it's everywhere. So it's much different now as a head coach. And it's actually something that I would love to not be the rule. I love recruiting. I love meeting the families. I love being around the players. I love seeing them practice. I love talking to their coaches. I love talking to their counselors. I love meeting their teachers. I want all that. And especially with the climate that we're in now where we're considering paying some of these young men a lot of money, you would also like to have as much of a full picture as you could possibly have when you're making that kind of commitment to a player and he's making that kind of commitment to you. So it's much different now than it's been. But our staff, we have a great recruiting staff, and the reception from players locally and players really all over has been really, really positive. I think lots of times in recruiting, players choose people. They choose how it feels. And I think we're as good at that as anybody.
Michael and then David.
Noah had his best passing performance in that game against Houston.
He beat Daggy. He beat Daggy. He beat one of Daggy's records that had been standing for, right? Yeah. It's been kind of a fun back and forth.
It's easy to forget that he's in his third system in 3 years, and it takes time to figure these things out. Do you get the sense that he and Coach Daggy are maybe more so on the same wavelength at this point than at the start of the season?
Yeah, absolutely, and they should be, right? Because now they've been in a lot more battles together, right? Their process is a lot more evolved, and so I think that's, I know I said it at media day in July. By December, everyone in the conference is going to be talking about Noah Fafita, and I still believe that.
David and then Justin.
Coach, what do you see in Buffalo's quarterback, Caden Salter, obviously one of the newer quarterbacks in the league, young guy? What do you see there?
He's an explosive football player, and he can make the throws he needs to make, but he's also dangerous in the run game, which is obviously something that we've had to deal with the last couple of weeks. But really good football player, and I know they've had a couple of different guys play this year, so we're kind of preparing for all of them because you don't really know which one it's going to be. But they all bring a little bit of something different to the table, but they all are obviously high level, high talent, and really, really good. So we're going to be ready for whatever shows up. We just got to line up and play.
Our last two will be Justin and then Jason.
So tomorrow we're going to talk to Deshaun McKnight. He's been obviously very impressive for your defense this year. How has he impacted your defense on the field, and just kind of how does his character and his personality kind of mesh with the rest of the group?
He's such a big body, and he's just got that great personality. You know, I think he brings an edge to us. He loves to play football. I think that shows up, and I think the players feed off that in game. You know what I mean? And so we have huge high expectations for him and his continued progress as a player, because I think there's more there. I think there's more plays for him to make. You know what I mean? But he's just been a great addition to our team. He's one of those guys. I think Coach Salavea has done a great job. Really, all of our coaches have done a great job kind of getting the portal players and the new players to assimilate into our culture and become, have a very clear understanding of what red line is and a very clear understanding of what it is to play football at the University of Arizona.
Finish up with Jason.
How have injuries kind of impacted the tight end room, and then how has Cameron Barmer kind of maybe bridged that gap from earlier in the season to now?
No, I think it's actually awesome what Cam's done. You know what I mean? Injuries are part of the game, and that's the hard part of it. But the best thing that can happen when you have somebody get injured is for someone to step up, right? Someone to answer the call and go in there and play good football, and that's what Cam's done. You've seen him, from spring until, now, and just seen just this incredible, kind of arrow up development of him in terms of his run blocking, his physicality, and then how he's finishing on the football. So, I'm really excited about how he's playing right now. I think, Sam Olsen has been a really steady, good player for us in that space. And it's been fun to see Cam really kind of take advantage of that opportunity. That's what happens when you have depth. That's what happens when you have good players at the position, right? The competition in practice is really intense and really fierce. And then if someone does get hurt, you hope to have somebody to step in and the performance doesn't fall off.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Bear down.